broadcast is brought to you by students of Hilo High School. KVIKS Media.
Good morning, Vikings. We are out here on the water. I'm your guest commentator, Nick Souza. Today, welcome to another race at Hilo Bay. Today is an exciting day. I think we have only 2 more races before we head to Moku's. Well, not Moku. Moku's? Is that next week? Oh, this is... I have someone on here to fact check me. Next week is Moku's. So this is our final race of the season before Moku's, which will be... Oh, BIIF's. I apologize. I'm from club paddling, and we call it Moku's. But BIIF's coming up at next week, which will, determine who goes to state. So this is the last time for everyone to really get a leg up in their times and kind of qualify for the lanes they want. So how well their times are today is going to determine what teams get to pick which lanes first when it comes to our ranked races. So that's going to be very exciting for a lot of us. Power Rangers. Are we good? Please tell me.
race started.
So that was our JV boys who just started racing off. That was in that heat was HPA, Hilo, and HPA and Kahala. On our ballot today for races is exciting. We have Hilo, Kamehameha, Kelakehe, Canoe, HPA, Kohala, Waikea, Pahoa. Let me look at the rest of my list. Ehunui, Kaumeke, Konawaina, Kea'au. It's a full ballot day. We have a lot of fun crews out here. This is the last race before we head to BIIFs, so it's really exciting today. Not as clear skies as the last time we streamed with everybody, but just as good. The waters are a little rougher today, as we can see. The waves are coming a bit high, but still going to be a very fun race for many of the students out here today. We're starting off with our quarter-mile races. These quarter-mile races are really short, and they're a little hard to see because they start on the opposite end of the beach. They're just straights as our paddling teams just cut right over. You see our Hilo team heading out. These are our JV girls. So here goes our teams as they're making their way out to the start line for the quarter-mile races. These are our JV girls. You can see our Hilo team heading off to start the race. For our JV girls, in our Heat 1 for our JV girls is Hilo, Kealakehe, HPA. These three canoes are going to be racing in this. Hilo is going to be in lane 2. HPA is going to be in lane 1, and KVIKS is going to be in lane 3. It's really fun races with these smaller heats. It really allows most of the canoes to have an even playing field, as I talked about in the last stream. When you are picking your lanes, they are so important to how much of the race you are, or I apologize. When you're picking lanes, a lot of teams try to get lanes closer into the shore. The farther out you go on the water, the rougher the waves tend to be, and the higher chance you have of flipping, which is a bit of a challenge. Now every team is well equipped. We see one of our officiant canoes going out. I apologize, that's not a fishing canoe. I believe that's just somebody with a single paddler boat. But a lot of teams really try to get within those lanes, 1, 2, 3, even 4. Those are a lot of people's sweet lanes that they love to go for. And so what these heat races allow for is for a lot of the teams to kind of have even footing. I think most of our canoes are set up and ready to go. Again, I think in this heat of our first heat of JV girls is HPA, Hilo, and KVIKS lined up. Here we go. Here's the yellow flag getting waved. Oh, nope. Not just yet. Paddles are up, and they're off. There goes Hilo. KVIKS taking it off. And we know from Hilo's strategy from this season, they aren't planning on trying to start strong. They are trying to finish strong. That's what matters at the end of the day. So there goes Hilo racing. I can only have visual really on them right now. And you can see how much, even these JV girls, they haven't been paddling for long. Some may have done beforehand, but most of these paddlers in JV, this is their first or second year paddling, and they are moving quite a bit of water. They're going through and getting that speed up. That looks like KVIKS is edging them out. At the moment, that is KVIKS. Now, from the visuals on the camera, it might seem like KVIKS is pulling ahead, but visually, anyone on the outer lanes may look like they're in the lead, but you can't really tell, not really until you're looking at these boats head to head at a very upfront angle. But it looks like it's still a close race between KVIKS and Hilo. Yeah, they are not that far apart from one another. It may look like on stream that KVIKS is farther ahead, but in reality, they are more neck to neck than possible. And I think that's Hilo. I think Hilo is still in the lead. There they go. It is between KVIKS and Hilo. And you can see these girls are going. Now you watch that changeover on KVIKS, and you can see how much the boat drops and stalls when they do that changeover. They're probably gonna have to work on those changeovers. Again, JV girls, they have only been paddling for most likely 1 to 2 years. And there goes Hilo. And I think they're going to take it. Don't let the paddle drop. You can see C1. She got a little tired at the end. These last few sprints, when you have a tight race, this is not a tight race, but when you do have those tight races, this is when you can't allow yourself to breathe. You can breathe once your nose passes that finish line. But there you go. Now you can take a breath all the way through. There's Hilo coming in for first place, followed by HPA. There we go, and then KVIKS. Great job to this JV girls. Great job to our Hilo JV girls. HPA and KVIKS, awesome job. And don't worry, these are heats. So it doesn't matter. You want to focus on your personal best and not trying to win for your heat, but of course you want to win for your heat. But know that there are 4 other canoes out there that you aren't racing against in this setup. So what finals is going to look like is not going to be determined until you have all your times down on your sheet. So in these heats, even if you see yourself as 3rd place coming in last for the heat, you may not be last in terms of everyone. So you still want to push through all the way through the end because you don't know what times are going to look like from the other heat. Coming up in our second heat for JV girls is Kamehameha in lane 2, Waiakea in lane 1, Canoe in lane 3, and Pahoa School in lane 4. So we have 4 canoes racing off today in this second heat. Again, let me go through that again, maybe in order this time. Lane 1 will be Waiakea, lane 2 will be Kamehameha, lane 3 will be Canoe, and lane 4 will be Pahoa Schools. Last time I came and did these races, there we go, little tunnel for our Hilo team. And you can see one of our cameramen right there on stream. I'm just showing a little bit behind the scenes of what it's like to film these broadcasts. That's the horn. That's the horn to make sure that everybody is trying. All those canoes are getting out onto the field. Or sorry, on the water. This is not a ground sport. Last time I came out here, I did not have binoculars. Today I have binoculars, so it's much easier for me to see these racers out on the edges. I do have some tents in my way, but I'll try to give my best do my best to give you guys some commentary on those turns when we do get to our half miles, because that's when I really find these races get exciting, is when you get into the turns, because just the races become so much more complex, different from those straightaways, and the mental math in your head becomes a lot more intriguing as somebody who's done paddling before. And of course, when you're in the canoe, it doesn't feel like you're doing mental math. It doesn't feel like you're measuring yourself out. It's much more of a feeling when you're in those canoes and you're doing that math in your head of how much power should I put in now or later. It becomes on your feeling and just trusting what your coaches have taught you and your training. Here we go. We got our boats turning around, getting ready to go out. Lining up in the waters. Again, for this heat is going to be Waiakea, Kamehameha, Canoe, and Pahoa in lanes 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. think our last canoe for these JV girls is getting out to the starting line, not the finish line, the starting line. Our fishing has flags in hand. Looks like all boats are out on the starting line. And here we go. Again, one more recap. YK is going to be in lane 1. Kamehameha lane 2. Canoe lane 3. And Pahoa Schools in lane 4. We apologize, we're not capturing a super clear visual for the start of these quarter miles. They are starting on the opposite end of the beach where our cameras are not positioned at the moment. But we will be able to capture a very clean start to these races, finish to these quarter mile races. So here we go, yellow flag is up, that is paddles up. Yellow flag raise, red flag down, and that's paddles up, paddles going. Hard to tell from this distance who's taking the strong start to this race. And again, don't forget, when you look on these cameras and we catch that view of the canoes coming towards the finish line, the outer canoes always will look like they're ahead. So it's a little bit of a forced perspective. Just because they're farther out, they look like they're farther ahead, but that's not the case. So when they come down to these finish lines, we'll get a clear view of really who's ahead. But right now, from what I can see, I get visuals of Waikea, and they're moving what it seems like really short strokes. All the way on the outer edge, there is Pahoa. It's coming right into view. You can see right behind them on the cameras. There's Pahoa coming through lane 4. And again, these are JV girls. Only been paddling for about a year or two, and so they're a little bit slower. You're not seeing that massive movement of water. But in the lead right now looks to be Canoe and Pahoa, with Pahoa pulling through all the way at the end there. And it's between Canoe and Pahoa as they're getting through. Pahoa's team is tired. They are struggling to pull that water up, and it's allowing Canoe to catch up to them. And now it's a neck-and-neck race. Look at them. Pahoa is still going through, but that's seat 1. They're struggling to pull that water. She's a bit stiff, but nope. There is Pahoa taking first. Canoe following in second. Waikea in third, crossing the finish line just now, and it comes in last place for this heat, Kamehameha. Great performance from all of our paddlers out here for our JV girls. There goes Kamehameha passing the finish line. And now Pahoa, these are, again, JV girls paddling 1 to 2 years. Most likely case, I don't know the paddlers 1 for 1. There's so many of them out on the water. But when you watch them paddling, you can see them, some of them are a bit stiff. Their paddles aren't going very deep. Even as a JV team, a big thing is to make sure those paddles are deep and you're picking up that water. And it's much better, even from an economic standpoint, to be putting your paddle deep and taking those big and heavy strokes on a more consistent basis, because I could see some of them falling off just slightly from one another. And these paddlers, this is the last race before BIIFs, and so most of these teams are almost had a little bit of a collision right there. Always got to be careful when you're turning in on doing your reverse parking here on the shoreline. But a lot of these paddlers have paddled together for the season, and they're starting to develop a rhythm, and so their timing's not falling off, but what it comes down to is just taking those big and heavy strokes. What's going to feel natural in these races is to go quick and fast, but that's not going to win. It's like the turtle and the hare. If you trust in your consistency and you trust in the power behind your team, that's going to take your boats much farther than being quick with those paddles. When that paddle is going quick, is going really, really quick and really shallow, and you're pulling a shallow bits of water, you're not moving the boat as much as if you were to bury that paddle and really push the water underneath the boat and get it up and moving forward. That's really what's going to allow for those boats to fly across the water. So that wraps up our JV girls Heat 2. We're now moving on to our Varsity boys Heat 1. This is going to be fun. Here comes our Varsity boys, which now means we are now to our half-mile segment of the races. For our Heat 1 for our Varsity boys is Waikea in lane 1, Kamehameha in lane 2, Kea'au in lane 3. That's going to be our Heat 1. Here comes Kea'au right on the water as we see them pass by us. That bright red and blue canoe. We get a much clearer start and end to these races now that we're doing our half-mile turns. And again, this is where it gets interesting. This is where it's gonna be fun to really see how these boys go. Kamehameha has been really good this season. Their Varsity boys have been really strong, and so let's see how they do today for Heat 1. We'll be starting very soon. Kamehameha, our last team to the finish, not to the finish line, to the starting line. Again, we're gonna have Waikea in lane 1, Kamehameha in lane 2, and then Kea'au in lane 3. Now you can see here at the start of the races, you see your boat holders, and they're really important. They may not be on the crew, they may not be running, but they're there to determine to make sure that you are as close to that start line as you could possibly be. Because if you start over the start line at the top of the race, you're immediately disqualified, and that really throws a wrench into what would have been a nice race. And I've seen teams before do that, and so those boat holders, really essential. Don't get enough credit, especially when your poor boat holders are all the way out on lanes 9 at the end. They do have to swim all the way back in. Our fisherman has his flags in hand. There we go. Our paddlers are getting ready. The yellow flags raised, paddles up, and we're off. There we go. Waikea out. Waikea taking the early lead. And here you can see the difference between our JV and our Varsity. You can see how much quicker they're able to move in time. And look at those changeovers, very quick. If you saw during some of our JV races, when they do those changeovers, you can see the boats drop and slow down. The goal is to keep that momentum and to change over in that time where the boat is not going to fall. This is a pretty close race. I don't think I'll be able to tell who's going to come out on top until we see those turns. And now, so we might not have visuals, but I'll try to give you the best audio commentary on those races once they get to the turns. But it still looks like Waikea is coming out, is still edging out a little bit of a lead. but I believe it's between KS and YKA. KL looks a little bit behind, but again, it's hard to tell from this perspective. You really have to follow these boats from side to side if you want to see these boats accurately. So they're making their way into the turn. And a big point is don't gas yourself on the first half, because you still have to get into the turn. And that was YKA typically had a really strong start, but they didn't finish really strong because they would most of them would either be tired or the other teams had conserved enough energy to overtake them. So let's see if YKA has enough energy in their varsity boys in this heat 1 to be able to go through. So here we go. YKA is going into their turn. Oh, they're almost there. I apologize. And there goes YKA. They are the first in the turn. And they're coming around. It looks like YKA is going to be the first ones out of the turn, but KS, they went in their turn really quick, and KS has come out of their turn. And it's still neck and neck between Kamehameha and KS. Look at them go. I know you can't really see them in a super clear view, but from my binoculars, they are neck and neck at the moment. So it's going to be down to how they can finish this race. No bearing of the flag. Good for all these teams. That means the rest of this race is still in qualification. All these 3 varsity boys are really evenly matched as they make their way across the Bayfront. And KL's looking like they're slowing down a little bit. Their strokes are still heavy, but they're falling behind in terms of their pace. KS and YK's pacing is still pretty quick. But I think KS is in the lead. There's KS ahead of KL and YKA, I think by half a boat length as they make their way across. And they're slowing down. KS, I think they're getting a little tired. I just saw their boat drop a little bit. YKA is catching up. You can hear the cheers from the crowd. This is a race between YKA. If they can catch up and overtake KS, this is the last stretch, the final stretch. YKA is catching up, and they've just overtaken Kamehameha Schools. And there's YKA taking the first place for this heat. KS overtaken at the last leg for the first heat. Great job. And remember what I said about these YKA teams? A pattern that I saw consistently last time for YKA was they would get tired near the end. And I think they learned from their mistakes, and they're coming back to make sure they're not tired when they're finishing up, and they're taking over Kamehameha. Great performance from both of those teams. I saw the Kamehameha canoe drop really heavily for some reason. I didn't get to see why, but I saw them slow down. And possibly the turn, it was just hitting them, the feet, how much, I apologize. It possibly was hitting them, just tiring. These half marathons, they don't look long, but they are hard. You are fighting the water. It's not like running. You're not just pushing yourself physically through the ground, but you're fighting the water. It's a full body sport. It's a full body sport. And if you stop and take a break, there's no stopping and taking a break. You know, not to say you would do any of that, of course, in a running sport, but you can see the canoe drop, and these are short. They're not long distances. You really have to keep a consistent pace all the way through, and it does really feel like you're going to burn out. And speaking from experience, I felt those half miles just really eat at you at that area where KS just lost their lead. You can feel it eat at you, especially on those really hot days. Thankfully, today is pretty cool, and so this is actually perfect weather for paddling because our paddlers are not burning in the sun waiting. But yeah, here we go. We're lining up for our second heat. In our second heat, in lane 1 is Kealakahe, lane 2 is Hilo, lane 3 is Kohala, and lane 4 is Kaumeke. I'm excited to see the performance of Hilo High compared to Waikea. Waikea took first place in their heat. Yeah, come on, Hilo would take the first place in theirs. But you never know how these races are going to turn out. One more time through our canoes in the second heat. This is the second heat for Varsity boys. Kealakahe in lane 1, Hilo lane 2, Kohala lane 3, and Kaumeke lane 4. Kaumeke team is just making their way to the starting line. Hilo trying to get as close to that start as possible. Trying just to bring them as close they can. Paddles are up. Yellow flag is raising. And they're off. There we go. There goes the second heat of Varsity boys. There goes Kealakahe. And Kealakahe was always a surprising team to watch last time. And look how fast they're going. But remember, Kealakahe may be explosive at the start, but we always got to remember what Hilo's tactic is. Not worried about starting strong. They're worried about finishing strong. And so Kealakahe, immediately they start to slow down and hit a more consistent pace. That burst of energy in the start, it's really to get them out of that rut. And if they're able to keep a strong, consistent pace through and conserve their energy, they might be able to edge out a win in this heat and beat Hilo. But let's look at those other canoes. We have Kohala and Kaumeke in lanes 3 and 4. And they're both... Kaumeke is out on the edge in the 4th lane. Still not a bad lane. Like I said, lanes 1 through 4 are where a lot of people would love to be. So again, that's what these heats are designed for. These heats are designed to give everybody a fighting chance and not to have anyone going to disadvantage before we go into our qualifying finals. This is the awkward part of the race. After you hit your initial burst, before your turn, this is when you're trying to... Your steersman and your pacemaker, your seat 1, they are the ones kind of doing that math of how much energy can we conserve. What's our pace going to look like? You know, you don't want to lose a lot of headway, but you also don't want to burn energy. So your pace setters are the ones up front, making sure that they know what their crew can handle. Again, these crews for the most part have been all in the season. And there we go. Hilo is head into their turn, and that's a quick turn. They are taking that a tight turn, and that's Hilo out of their turn. No bearing of the flags. Kaumeke just getting out of their turn as well. Hilo is first out of the turn. And there goes Hilo taking the lead. I think it is between Hilo and Kohala, but again, hard to tell from this distance. But KVIKS has lost a lot of their steam that they had at the start of the race. That big explosive energy, it does tire you out, and so you really got to watch yourself as you're carrying yourself through the end of these races. Not how you start, how you finish. Hilo is in the lead, carrying through, but they're still close with Kohala. It's a Hilo versus Kohala race. Here they come, and it's neck and neck. Hilo has an edge, and you can hear the Hilo's team cheering them on. Hilo is ahead, and I don't know if Kohala is going to catch them up. And there we go. That's a boat length ahead of Kohala. Hilo has just taken. And that's Hilo pretty much taking it for their heat. That's Hilo passing the finish line, followed by KVIKS and Kohala. Great job to all of our crews out there for our varsity boys. That wraps up our heats for our varsity boys. Now, we don't know our times yet. That will be determined after we get through all our heats. So our finals will be where we get to see all of our teams from our separate heats race up against each other. But for Heat 1, YK took first place, and for Heat 2, Hilo took first place. So it is going to be exciting to see how these finals shake out. My imagination is Hilo and KVIKS are going to be probably the first in their finals. They had really good starts, really strong follow-throughs. Kamehameha and YK still had good times, but I think they might be our third and fourth. But we will see how it all shakes out in finals when the times are recorded by our judges, and we'll see the lineups. And know that when they line up for finals, it's not based on lane 1 isn't your first place. It just means they get the first pick for which lanes they want. So I'll make sure I'll head over to the judges meeting and try to report back to who took first place for those heats. But that wraps up our varsity boys heat. That brings us over to our varsity girls heat 1 and 2. And let's look at the roster for our varsity girls. Today, racing for our varsity girls is Ke'au, HPA, Hilo, Kamehameha, KVIKS, Kohala, Ehunui, and YK. There are 8 racers in total. Yes, a total of 8 racers. For our Heat 1, Lane 1 will be Ke'au, Lane 2 will be Kamehameha, Lane 3 will be KVIKS, and Lane 4 will be YK. So that will be our and here is our varsity girls lining up again. Ke'au in lane 1, Kamehameha in lane 2, KVIKS in lane 3, and YK in lane 4. You can see the red and blue Cougars heading out. The blue and white Kamehameha. The sky blue KVIKS, and the brown and red YK Canoes. There's Cal taking those big wide turns to line up for lane 1, just so that giving Kamehameha and KVIKS room to turn their canoes in and get to their lanes. You can see riding on the Amas are your boat holders for these races. Most of the boat holders are your coaches, your coaching assistants, or sometimes even fellow racers, or your teammates holding those boats for you. And so coaches aren't just sitting down. Sometimes they're getting up, getting wet, and being with their teams. That's the yellow flag up. Kamehameha is far behind in their starting of the finish line, so they're going to have to actually catch up before the race has even started. Very interesting, very interesting. There goes our canoes. KL taking the strong start. Those deep, you can see, consistent. Good changeover from KL. KL's going to take that lead at starting off the race, but let's see how they go into those turns. Again, we won't see that for just a little while, of course, because they have to get down to the other end of the race track. But and now they slowed down all our racers. I'm looking across the board. All our racers have slowed down. Keao, Kamehameha, Kealakehe, Waikea, all have taken a slower pace to start. Like I said, this is the awkward part of the race. This is where you want to watch your energy. You're about to go into the turn, but you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose your head away. So now that everyone's taking this slower pace, we can kind of judge. But KS is actually still going pretty quickly compared to the others. But it's hard to tell. They can be moving quick, but they also couldn't be moving a lot of water. It's hard to tell from this distance. No one has gone into their turns yet, but they're getting pretty close. And I believe the first who's going to go into the turn is Keao. Yep, they are the first into the turns. Keao is going to start taking their turns right now. They're going for a real wide turn. Mostly trying to save from burying their flag very far away from the flag there. But they're going to be the first out of their turn. None of the other racers, they are the first out while everybody else is just starting their turn. So Keao has a far lead in front of everyone. If they can keep that for the last half of this race, they're shoo-in to win this heat. YK is out of their turn. Kealakehe is just getting out of their turn, and so is Kamehameha. Keao has a far lead ahead of everybody, but we'll see if they can maintain that. They may have been the first out of the turn, but that's not always the same case. They might have tired themselves out. From the looks of it, looks like Kamehameha is currently falling behind everybody. Kealakehe, Waikea, they're pulling ahead, but I can't say if they're as far ahead as they look. Just because Keala had that big lead in the turns, they're still most likely farther ahead. But Keala has slowed down drastically. They have to keep that pace. They may be tired, but they can't allow themselves to lose the headway they gave themselves. Cal is still moving water. They are even even with a slower pace, this is the final stretch, and they have just digging their paddles in. You can see that seat 3 and seat 4 just digging those paddles and pulling that water. And that's KL taking first place. They're about to cross the finish line just a bit. And there you go, that's KL first place. Like I said, YK and KVIKS, they're racing for second. KVIKS team, you can hear them cheering. And this is YK cheering, because KVIKS is catching up. They are neck and neck, those two teams. Oh, and just by a hair, that's YK taking it for KVIKS, followed by KS. Great job to all our JV girls. Oh, sorry, not JV girls, our varsity girls. Here, and that was Heat 1. And that was KL, Kamehameha, KVIKS, and YK. For our Heat 2, lining up is going to be HPA, Hilo, Kohala, and Ehonui. Ehonui's in a little bit of an odd lane. I wonder why they're in lane 5. Everybody else is in lanes 1, 2, and 3, respectively. But Ehonui's out in lane 5. I wonder if that was a choice. I wonder if that was a choice by their coaches to be out in lane 5, but you know, we shall see how that shakes out for them. But Cal had that lead. They were at first out of that turn. While everyone else went into their turns, Cal was coming out of their turns. So, and that's a very generous lead. When you can come out of the turns before everyone else has entered theirs, that is you can make a lot of headway, and that's where Cal just had a massive lead. So even on cameras, it might have seemed like when they were farther away, YK and KVIKS had a chance of catching up. They really didn't, just because of how much of a lead that they gave them. You can see there was about 2 to 3 boat lengths. So I just asked, I was a little curious why Ehonui would be out all the way in lane 5, and it sounds like they have a new steers, a relatively new steersman, so they're they're keeping them away, and that's gonna be hard for Ehonui, because if you drift in someone else's lane, that steersman, you don't see it, because a lot of these steersmen have trained, and they're good at keeping their boats straight. But when you have a new steersman, sometimes you can veer off, and if you end in someone else's lane, that's disqualification, because you're not finishing in your lane, of course. So giving themselves that extra lane of space, it is good for them. So Ehonui actually selected lane 5. So here we go. We have HPA in lane 1, Hilo in lane 2, Ehonui all the way out there in lane 5, and then lane 3 is, I believe, Kohala. Yes, Kohala is out there in lane 3. HPA is lining up their boat. Everybody else is out on the water getting ready. Shaking out the last bit of those nerves. Ooh, a little close there, HPA. Little close there. Okay, yellow flag is up. That's paddles up. Waving. And they're off. There they go. This is Varsity Girls Heat 2. HPA, Hilo, Kohala, and Ehonui. taking that immediately with HPA. I believe last time HPA girls were quite scary, and I beat out the Hilo Varsity girls. So let's see how this shakes out today. If I was to put bets on who is going to be our front leaders, it's probably going to be Hilo and HPA. So let's see how these two crews do out on the water today. Good conditions. We're not blasting the heat. It's a good day. It's going to be the first day, I think, in Hilo we've had some cloud coverage. So excited. I do want to see how the Canoe does. Picking that lane 5 is interesting. I understand if they have a new steersman on the boat why they would pick that lane 5, but the waters are a bit rougher out there. And most people don't like choosing lane 5, but let's see how this shakes out for them. Okay, they just passed the quarter-mile mark of the race. And there goes HPA, still keeping a good pace all the way out there. Trying to see with my binoculars out here how they're doing. Some tents are getting in my way. Wish I could stand about 20 feet up in the air to see these canoes. But I still think it's a Hilo versus HPA race. You can see that HPA wasn't exploding at the start, and you know Hilo's tactic. Hilo's tactic is just to start strong, but not explode, and to really save that energy for the finish line. HPA, they weren't that much farther ahead, so I wonder if that's a bad sign or a good sign. But it will shake down after these turns. But I think they're going to go in around the same time. HPA is going into their turn, and they're going really wide on those turns. It's a safe bet. But there goes Hilo. I think they're going to come out of their turns around the same time. Ehunui, Kohala just going into their turns. Oh. Well, what is this? Hilo had to... Kohala passed... I think Kohala passed into Hilo's lane. Yeah, I think Kohala... I'm hearing walkies from the official boat. It looks like Kohala is getting dinged for interfering with Hilo's course. Hilo had to make a wide turn to compensate because Kohala got super close to Hilo's yellow flag turn. And that falls into the steersman. That's their job, to make sure that they're not getting so close. Kohala should have been nowhere near Hilo's yellow flag to interfere with that turn. But it's still a close race. Hilo may have an interference, but they may have an interference, but we know how strong these racers are from Hilo. But here goes HPA and Hilo. They're trying. You can hear their team screaming for them. Look, there they are. There's Hilo. There's HPA. There's Hilo. HPA is still in the lead. And you can hear Hilo team just cheering for them because of that interference. And that's HPA taking the lead for Heat 1, Heat 2 of Varsity Girls. And then there goes Hilo taking second place. Ehunui all the way out there on lane 5, taking in third place. Good job for Ehunui. And then there's Kohala is trailing much farther behind on lane 4, probably understanding that they did interfere with Hilo's lane and they might have been disqualified. I don't know how that's going to shake out, whether that is a time adding time onto their final score for the interference, or if that disqualifies them from participating in finals. But we shall see. And there is Kohala taking the last place, 4th place for this heat. Again, that doesn't mean they're last overall, but it does mean they did have an interference, and they're probably going to get dinged for that. But great job to all our racers out there. Next up, after our varsity girls, we are going into that's going to be conclude for our finals, and that's going to bring us over to our finals for the races. So they're going to pull lanes after this. So I'm going to go away for a bit and hear the coaches come over, and we're going to hear those lanes pulled, and I can come back to you with how those heats shook out. And we'll be hopping into JV boys finals, followed by JV girls finals, our varsity boys finals, then our varsity girls finals, and they'll be going over to quarter mile and our mixed races. So it will be an exciting day. Just because the heats are over from our JV and varsity doesn't mean the day is over. So a lot more exciting paddling to come to you today. Thank you, KVIKS, but I will be right back.
Let's go, girls! Yeah, but she was walking. I confess my guilt. Say bye. I can't believe. Grandpa has your phone.
Hey everyone, so I just got back from the judges meeting and I have the times from who finished first. So going off from our JV girls, first place was Hilo with a time of 2 minutes 11 seconds. Second place was Canoe with a time of 2 minutes 8 seconds. They most likely... Oh wait. My times are weird. I apologize. But our ranking for the finals is, I will just say this out loud. Our Hilo in first. Pahoa took second. Third was Canoe. Fourth was Waiakea. Fifth was HPA. Sixth was KVIKS, and seventh place for our finals for JV girls was seventh place for Kamehameha. Our JV boys, a little bit different. First place was Kohala. Second place was Canoe. Third place was KVIKS. Fourth place was HPA. And the fifth place was Kamehameha. Kilo, for some reason, was scratched from the JV boys. So that is interesting. Oh, I'll be right back, people. I am missing the Varsity boys finals. Okay, I am back with our varsity boys and girls time. So for our varsity boys, let's start with our varsity boys. In first place was Waiakea with a time of 3 minutes 58 seconds. Great job to Waiakea boys. Second place was Kamehameha with a time of 4 minutes 1 seconds. And you know what? My predictions were wrong. It was flipped. My predictions was that Hilo and KVIKS would be in the top two for our varsity boys, and it'd be Waiakea and Kamehameha taking 3 and 4. But instead, it is the opposite. Waiakea took first. Kamehameha took second with a time of 4 minutes and 1 second. Hilo, third place with a time of 4 minutes 4 seconds, and KVIKS with a time of 4 minutes and 10 seconds here in fourth place. Our fifth place is Kohala. They had our time of 4 minutes 12 seconds. Kiao, we took sixth place with a time of 4 minutes 15 seconds, and Kaumeke with a time of 4 minutes and 38 seconds. They are seventh place, and for finals they actually got DQ'd for a uniform infraction, so they're not going to be, Kaumeke will not be participating in our finals. Varsity girls. Varsity girls, first place was Kea'au with 4 minutes and 28 seconds. Great job to Kea'au. In second place was HPA with 4 minutes 32 seconds. Hilo took third place with 4 minutes 38 seconds. In our fourth place was Waiakea with 4 minutes 49 seconds, .14. And our fifth place was KVIKS with the same time, 4 minutes 49 seconds, but .86. So close when it comes to those races between KVIKS and Waiakea. Kamehameha is sixth place with 4 minutes 54 seconds. And then our 7th place, Ehunui, was 4 minutes 59 seconds. They are your 7th place team, and your 8th place team, which is Kohala, which DQ'd for their interference. So, yeah, that interference from the Kohala team with Hilo did get them disqualified from the finals. So they will not be racing. So there's only going to be 7 crews out there for what started off with 8. And, you know, that happens, and that's why you do watch it. There is no hard lines on the water. It's open water, so you really have to be careful, and that does fall on that steersman. But it happens. It happens, and what you do is you learn and not to do that again. And the races have already started for our finals. Let me try and pull it up real quick. Our races have already started. Here we are. This is our JV boys final. Coming out ahead at this moment in time looks to be Kamehameha. It's Kamehameha, Kealakahe, and Ehunui. Ehunui is taking the lead. And there goes Ehunui. That was our JV boys final. Ehunui took first place, followed by Kealakahe, Kamehameha, and Kohala. HBA is coming in. That was our JV boys. Good job from our JV boys. Up next will be our JV girls finale. Inside that heat again from our JV boys. Our JV boys were HPA, Kohala, Canoe, Kealakahe, and Kamehameha. Hilo was scratched from the race. Looks like they did not participate in the start of the JV boys. We missed that a little bit on the start of our stream, so we apologize for that. But yeah, great job from our JV boys. They're always the start of the race, so they're a little hard to catch as we set up. But yeah, Ehunui was, what were they? They were, or was it Ehunui? Who was in lane 1? I apologize. That was not Ehunui, that was Kohala. I apologize. I'm not familiar with the JV boys because I didn't get to see them race at the start of the day. So my commentary may not be the best on that front. I apologize for that. But next up will be our JV girls finals. For our JV girls finals, first place was Hilo. Hilo took first place at the time in 2 minutes 11 seconds. And then, oh no, I apologize. These places are incorrect. These are places for their heats. But overall, Hilo did take first place, followed by Pahoa, who did have a smaller time. I don't know if they got dinged with extra time for something else that happened, but they took second for the overall heats today. Third place was Canoe with a time of 2 minutes 8 seconds. YK was fourth place with a time of 2 minutes 14 seconds. Followed by HPA with a time of 2 minutes 19 seconds. And 2 minutes 26 seconds was our sixth place, Kealakahe. And seventh place, I apologize, was Kamehameha with a time of 2 minutes and 28 seconds. So that's what our JV girls' times are like. Hilo is leading the pack right now. They're taking their lane 3, followed by Pahoa, who took second place. They're taking lane 2, and then third place is taking lane 3, which is Canoe. So here goes. You can see YK on the stream right now. Kealakahe and Kamehameha all setting out to go line up for their quarter-mile straights. And again, this is going to be our JV girls finals. And it's really important for these times because these times are going to determine how this is their last time to really get the last bit of energy and try to put their best foot forward to edge out for BIIFs and just kind of make sure they're ready and they're prepped, because BIIFs is going to determine who goes to states. And it's always fun to race on Oahu waters. So this is our JV girls finals. They're lining up right now. So let's go through the lane selections of who they're set up in their lanes. So oh, my information is wrong. I'm sorry. It's written a little weird on the form I saw. So Pahoa actually took first place. They took first place, followed by Canoe, then by Hilo in their times. And then fourth place was Waikea. Fifth place, HPA. Sixth place, Kalike. And seventh place, Kamehameha. So, in the lineup for the races, Hilo will be in lane 1. Lane 2 will be housed by Pahoa. Lane 3 will be Canoe. Lane 4 is YK, lane 5 is HPA, lane 6 is Kalikay, and Kamehameha is going to be taking lane 7. So there we go. Yellow flag is up, paddles are up, and they're off. Quarter mile straights, not a lot of technique to this. It's just your basics. Don't die out and keep that boat moving. I have my fact checker to the right of me. She's shaking her head yes. So it sounds like I am right in that assessment of these quarter mile races. Now the biggest thing to watch when you're in these quarter miles, again, for these finals, just don't die out early. Finish strong. If you got to explode out of that turn, but not too much. You want to get enough power so you're getting out of that rut. Sorry, not turn, the start of the race, where all that water is stagnant. But once you get that boat moving, you can slow down and just make sure your paddle's deep. Make sure you're moving that water and keeping the boat moving. You don't need to be moving fast to be moving water. That's a big key to remember. And Hilo's a prime example of not moving quick, of not paddling fast, but moving fast. On the water, it's hard to tell who is currently in the lead. Just from far away, it may look like on camera that Kalikay is in the lead, but that's just because they're all the way far out there. But again, that tends to play tricks on your eyes. But YK is doing really well. Our first place winners was Pahoa. But it's a hard race to call at the moment. Looks like Kalikay is slowing down. Hilo, there they are doing what they usually do and just exploding right at the end where it counts. And that's Hilo taking it for their JV girls. Followed by what I imagine is Pahoa. Yep, that is Pahoa, second place. Ehunui, YK, Kalikay, HBA, and that's KS, Kamehameha Schools, all the way on the outer edge, just crossing their finish line as well. Good race from the JV girls. Interesting, really close, almost across the board. And that's a fun race you want to see. Next up will be our varsity boys. And they're fun, and we're back to half miles, and I love myself a half mile. So I'll catch you guys when we're back with those varsity boys. Okay, we are back, and look at these varsities. We are back on the starting line. A much easier view of the start of these races. So this is our varsity boys lineup. YK took first place overall for our varsity boys, so let's see how they do today. They're in lane 1. Pows are up, and they're off. They have YK in lane 1, Kamehameha in lane 2, Hilo lane 3, Kalake in lane 4, Kohala lane 5, and all the way out in lane 6, you have Ka'au. So let's see how they go. I am always worried about Hilo. You saw what happened with those JV girls. So let's see how our varsity boys stack up against the Hilo strategy. YK is still holding out their lead. Hilo is still at a comfortable pace, but we'll see how this all stacks up in the turn. That's where crews are made and die, is in that turn. And there we go. They just passed the quarter mark of the race. They're a quarter of the way through the race. They're halfway down their first straight. And for the view of everything, it looks pretty even across the board, but again, that perspective is playing in. The canoes on the outer edge always look like they're ahead more than they are. So I would say if from the distance I am at, it is still between Kamehameha, YK, and Hilo. And let's see how they do in their turns. And our teams are approaching their flags. First in the turn is Kamehameha. They're first in their turn, followed by Waiakea, then by Hilo, and everyone else is starting to make their turn. So let's see how first out is going to be Kamehameha, first out of their turn. Kalake is also out of their turn, so is Hilo and Waiakea. That's tough. They're all out of their turns at relatively around the same time. So let's watch these 4 canoes as they make their way down this final straight. That turn, it may not look like a lot, but when you're in that canoe, the water just stops and you're completely changing the momentum you were putting yourself in. And you were building up your canoe. So to make that turn, it feels like you're trying to drag something across concrete. It looks like Kamehameha is still keeping a pretty heavy lead, but it's gonna be between Hilo and Waiakea right now. No, sorry, Hilo and Kamehameha. But the Hilo team is up and standing, cheering for their boys. Yeah, Waiakea has fallen behind, and it looks like Hilo and Kamehameha are pretty tight. They're not putting all their energy in. This is not the final stretch. As the plane passes right over. But Hilo passes Kealakea. And it is a tight race. Now everyone's neck to neck. Hilo, Kamehameha, Kealakea. Oh! Kamehameha has just edged out a little bit ahead of Hilo. And there's Kamehameha pulling through. There's still a bit where Hilo could catch up, but I don't think they're going to. I think Kamehameha is going to take it, and they do. Kamehameha takes it, followed by Hilo, then Waiakea, then Kealakea. Great job. There you see Kohala passing the finish line right now alongside Ka'au, which will follow right behind them. But great job from Kamehameha, following through and just edging out Hilo. great performance. Taking those notes, again, not how you start, how you finish. And Kamehameha was the first out of the turn, and that is a big, big lead. When the other boats are slowing down to almost a stop, getting out of those turns, and you can make that headway, you know you can get that lead, and you buy yourself time for something like that, where an explosive team like Hilo, where they really do shoot up at the end, you can buy yourself enough time with like KS and be able to keep a consistent pace and edge out, and I think that really is the best way to beat Hilo if you're trying to, is one, to have great paddlers, and then two, getting into that turn and just buying yourself some time. Because if Hilo goes into that turn and they're first out, they're really hard to catch. I think we've seen it again and again. But other teams like Kealakekee as well, they give Hilo and other crews like them and HPA like a run for their money. So great job from Kamehameha, great job from Waiakea as well. Taking your first place for the finals was Kamehameha, second place was Hilo, and third place was Waiakea. Great job. Next up will be our Varsity Girls Finals. Okay, we're back with Varsity Girls. Here they are lined up. First in line is Kea'au, followed by HPA. These are not in ranking order. These are who are in their lane. So lane 1 is Kea'au. Lane 2 is HPA. Yellow flag is up. Paddles are up. And they're off. Hilo's in lane. Oh, nope. Now they're off. I apologize. Now they're off. KO is in lane 1, followed by HP in lane 2. Hilo in lane 3. Waikea in lane 4. Kealakehe in lane 5. There's KO. Explosive start. I hope they can keep that up because that is an amazing pace to keep. These are the varsity girls. We saw them last. They were the last we saw before we went into our little break, and they were exciting to watch. We have Kealakehe, Kamehameha, and Ehunui all the way on the farther edge out there. So yeah, and this was the race where Kohala is not racing because they were dinged for interfering with Hilo. So let's see how this stacks up. This is an exciting race. I don't know why I'm super excited for this one specifically, but I guess it's just because seeing those KO girls, varsity girls, just have that explosive start. It is really invigorating, and if I was to put money on who I'm imagining finishing first, it's probably me, KO. But Hilo took a surprised me with the JV boys, so I'm wondering if their varsity girls, Hilo surprised me. So I'm wondering if the varsity girls can do the same thing the JV's girls did and surprise me. But if I was to say, I probably would put my money on KO at this moment with that start. And it's still a quick pace. I'm watching down all the way at the ends, and even past the quarter mile mark of the race, they're keeping that heavy pacing. And when I say heavy pacing, I mean that paddle is going in. It's going deep into the water and really pulling that canoe out. But their pace is still quick. They are not doing super long strokes. They're short. They're quick, and they're pulling water and they're moving. You can clearly see when teams doing good strokes when the canoe is moving. You can see it pick itself up. And the first into the turn is KO. And if they can come out of that turn before anyone else gets out of it, they're going to buy themselves a lot of time. And yeah, KO is the first out of their turn. Hilo's going into the turn, followed by HPA. Everybody else has not yet gone into their turns. And look at them go. It's going to be a race between these three teams. Hilo's just coming out of it, but KO has made a lot of headway, and it's a lot of water to catch up on, a lot of space. So let's see how they do. And as they get down to the final quarter mile, not eighth mile of the race, but the final quarter of this race, we can really see how these teams are gonna differentiate out. I don't know if that's the right word, but nonetheless, these are neck and neck races between KO, HPA, and Hilo. They're close, but Hilo's much farther behind. I think it's going to be between Cal and HPA. But the Cal team, I can see them just moving that water. Look at those girls move that water. You can see it just pick themselves up. But Hilo is having a hard time. Their team is a lot slower than we've seen from other Hilo teams. So Cal's going to take this first race. I think, aside from anything else, Cal's going to take it, and it's going to be Cal, HPA, and Hilo taking that first, second, and third place. And there it is. There's Cal taking that. Great job from the Cal varsity girls. Great job. Same to HPA and following Hilo. Great job. Looks like it's going to be Kealakehe, Kamehameha, Waiakea, and Ehunui in that order, following suit. Oh, is that going to be? Nope, that is going to be Kamehameha taking it just a little bit ahead of YK. YK was making a good effort to try and catch up there. And that's Ehunui crossing the finish line right there. Great job to those KL Cougars, and like I said, that explosive start is really fun to see. That's a good crew those KL Varsity girls has. You see that start, and it was kind of the perfect start. What you really want out of a start from a race where you can see fast strokes, but they're still digging. They're still getting that water under the boat. You can see that canoe just lift and move. And so you can see how fast they were, and they didn't lose that power. They may have slowed down their pace to conserve energy, but they weren't losing power, and that's the biggest thing. How fast your pace is really can determine how much energy you are putting out as a team. And you want to be the most efficient team as possible. And KL's Varsity girls really did a good job at pacing themselves and getting the most out of the power that they have. HPA girls, same thing. And to the Hilo, they were slower than you would I've seen from other Hilo teams, especially from the last time. Last time Hilo was winning a lot of these races, but it's been about a month, a little less than a month since the last race we've had here that we've covered for the Hilo team, and I can see them at the end. They were kind of struggling to kind of get that water going, but regardless, still a great job. Oh, and now you guys can see me. Hi, guys. Isn't that fun? You can see I'm standing on the boards of the thing to actually see the races. Next up is going to be our quarter-mile varsity Heat 1 and Heat 2. So we'll be back with that. They're actually lining up right now. There are 10 canoes in this race. This is for our JV mix. Let me try and pull up what our mix is going to look like. Is this our quarter mile? This is a quarter mile varsity Heat 1. Here's our quarter mile varsity. We have 10 canoes in this race. In Heat 1, we have St. Joseph's, Parker, Konawaina, Ke'au, Kamehameha, HPA, Hilo, Ehunui, all in this race. Also, we have 2 sets of connections in Heat 1, so there's 10 canoes. This is going to be a fun race. Let me check on something real quick. I'm just checking if these are quarter miles or if these quarter miles from our varsity teams are scoring or non-scoring. We can't currently tell if this is scoring or non-scoring at the moment, but there are 10 canoes out on the water just for your Heat 1. So in total, I think there's about 20 canoes racing in this, which of course you have to break up because we don't got 20 lanes. But how amazing would that be if we see 20 canoes racing all at once? You see that in Oahu. Yeah. And off to the races. We already started on these quarter miles. Sorry, I couldn't see from all that while they were all the way out there, but look at them go. These are our varsity team. Just racing down, so they're quite a bit quicker than our JVs who you usually see doing these quarter mile races. So it's fun. Again, just back to basics, just back to the pacing of them. No turns, not a lot of mental math, just trying to make sure that you start strong, finish strong. And you don't burn yourself out in the beginning. But you got 10 canoes out on the water Looks like from the look of things, Hilo is ahead. It's hard to tell because they're so far out. But we'll see because no, I believe that is Hilo leading the pack. Yep, that is Hilo leading in front of everybody, but you can see other teams, Kamehameha is catching up behind them. Oh yeah, look at that. Kamehameha is catching up and making a lot of headway. Kamehameha and Kohala. Kohala has taken the lead. And that's Kohala taking first place, followed by Kamehameha, and then Hilo, and then St. Joseph's. Very interesting, very interesting. You can see the barge pass behind them. Great job to all these quarter-mile racers. Great job from Kohala. Wasn't expecting them to come out on first for their heat, but really exciting for them. Next up is going to be our heat 2 for our quarter-mile mix. Heat 2 for a quarter-mile mix will include another round for St. Joseph, Pahoa, Kohala, Kealakehe, Keao, Kaumeke, another slot for Ehunui, Canoe, and one more round, a round for connections, and then Lapahoihoi. I think it's the first time we're going to see Lapahoihoi out on the water today. So that's very exciting. I'll come back to meet you guys when we start our second quarter miles. So now we are moving on to our Heat 2 for our quarter mile varsity mix. Or no, is this a quarter mile varsity mix or is this quarter mile varsity? This is just quarter mile varsity, so this is not quarter mile varsity mix. I apologize. In our Heat 2, Lane 1 is going to be Kohala. Lane 2, St. Joseph. Lane 3 is Parker School. Lane 4 is Konawina. Lane 5 is Kamehameha. Lane 6 is HPA. Lane 7 is Hilo. And then Laboihoi, Connections, and Canoe, I imagine, are out on those farther lanes. So they're lining up. The last bits of our canoes are heading over to the lineup. There's a lot of canoes on the water. Another 10 set of canoes. So let's see how this all plays out. And I'll be back with you when we start those races. Okay, yellow flag is up, paddles are up. And they're waving, get ready, and off they go. Red flag's down. off they go. It's again hard to tell from this far away, but it looks like KVIK is pulling a pretty comfortable lead. And here we go, coming up on the end of this quarter mile.
Come on, Hilo! Get up, bud!
There's the Hilo boy. Here's our Hilo boys. Quarter mile varsity. I think if I was to judge on who's going to finish this first, Canoe still has a pretty comfortable lead out there. But here comes Kohala and Hilo. Hilo just passes, and nope, there goes Hilo taking the lead, and that's Hilo passing right behind Kohala. Great job, Hilo. Followed by Canoe. They close that distance pretty good and pretty quick. Again, that is the scary nature of Hilo. When they do that, they do kind of come out of nowhere where you're not expecting them to just have all that energy. They just do. But that's not to say other teams haven't done that. Teams like KVIK and teams like HP have both done similar things, but not to the extent that Hilo does. Hilo just has this kind of drastic effect where they just kind of come out of nowhere, and you can hear the team just kind of rile up behind them when they do that. But other teams, I think a lot of their tactics is just to be consistent and to power. And to be consistent from the start to the finish and pull that power into the end. Hilo actually tries to, I think, a lot of times conserve that energy to have that explosive nature at the end. But great job, and we're moving on from our quarter miles now. So that's the end of our quarter mile varsity heat 1 and 2, and now we're going on to our mixed JV heats and our varsity mix. So this is going to be exciting. Mix is always fun just because you get to really come up with interesting crew combinations, because who you put in what seat, it comes down to who your paddlers are. So the first of our JV mixed heats is going to be Hilo in lane 2, Parker in lane 3, St. Joseph in lane 1, and Pahor in lane 4. That will be our setup for our JV mix. I'll be back with all of you when we are back to paddling.
I get.
And our quarter miles at our JV mix has started, and here they go. They're about halfway through, and it looks like Pahoa is doing quite well. It looks like they're in the lead ahead of everybody, but that could change. That might just be perspective. So Hilo, I think, is still in this race. Yeah, Hilo is pulling ahead of all the other canoes, but that Pahoa crew is still quite far ahead. But let's see if Hilo can catch up. And Hilo's making quite a bit of headway, and I think they're going to catch up. But can they beat Pahoa? You can hear the teams. They're clearly a close race. So here comes Pahoa and Hilo. The bay looks a little empty. It's still only 4 canoes after seeing those 10, but it is still, ooh, that voice crack. But it's still going to be fun. I think Pahoa is going to edge out. Oh, is Hilo going to overtake him? Hilo's going to overtake them in that final stretch. Oh, that's close. I don't think I can tell. That is very close for Hilo catching up with Pahoa. I can't tell. I think I would have to wait for an official word from the judges on who won that. Just got word from the judges. It looks like Pahoa did. They were able to keep that lead. Hilo was so close with catching him, and that's the scary. And that is the scary tactic. That is the risky factor of Hilo's strategy. Is that when they're trying to do that explosive carry through at the end, that if a team like Pahoa or KVIKS in the past, if they have those lead on them, it's hard. Hilo is playing a catch-up game. That is the name of the strategy, is to be the best catch-up you can. So, Pahoa just edged out a victory for them. So great job for them. But this is, again, only heats. We still have finals for when these JV mix come around. So that just means they get first pick ahead of Hilo on their heats. But let's go over to our second heat roster and see what that looks like. Our second heat for this JV mix is going to be Canoe in lane 1, KVIKS in lane 2, Kamehameha in lane 3, and HPA in lane 4. A lot of really good schools in this one. So let's see how this one shakes out. When those race starts, I'll be back with you. Again, this is going to be a quarter mile JV mix. And that was the yellow flag waving, and they're off already. Let me pull up and see what is in this heat for you guys. Heat 2, this is for our JV mix. Lane 1 is Canoe, Lane 2 is KVIKS, Lane 3 is Kamehameha, and Lane 4 is HPA. I want to see how HPA and Kamehameha shake out because those two teams so far have been interesting to watch. Sometimes they're really great, sometimes they're not so much. So let's see how they do. It looks like HPA is flying across. They are just moving right now. Actually, the wind is in their favor because the water is pushing the way they are going. But HPA was flying. But KS and Kamehameha, they all look really close right now. So I couldn't call from here who might be taking the lead. On stream, it does look like HPA is far in leagues ahead. But like I said, that perspective of the camera and where you're looking at from the shoreline does make outer lane canoes look like they're much farther ahead. But in reality, from what I can see, they're pretty much neck and neck right now. It is a very close race between these four crews. Canoe in lane 1 not giving up. I think they might be falling behind with Kamehameha, but nope. As I say that, they are picking up pace, and that might be Canoe edging themselves out and just throwing their weight behind that paddle and digging themselves out of the water. And that is Canoe taking first place, it looks like. There they go. That is Canoe taking first place, followed by KVIKS, just now passing the finish line. And there goes Kamehameha and HPA. Interesting. From these crews. A fun shakeout. JV mix, they're always a bit different because you're mixing from your two teams, and you're pulling from two very different groups of paddlers. So I'm excited by that shakeout of how that JV mix turned out. Great job to all our paddlers out there. That wraps up our JV mix, and now we'll be going on to the varsity mix, where now we're back to half miles, and like I said, I love myself a half mile with some turns. Be back with you guys then. And paddles are up, and there they go. Off they go. Waikea, Hilo, Kea'au. I believe that's Kohala in the end, and I don't know what canoe that is out there. Just on vision. Huh? Kaumeke? That's Kaumeke all the way on the end. And Waikea flying off in that start, but so is Hilo. So I'm excited to see how this shakes out. I think Waikea was first. They took first for this heat. Or not their heat, for the boys. So these JV mixed crews, it's surprising how fast they fly. But they always do. That's Waikea, you can see on stream going into their turn. As they're going into their turn, you can see they're going a bit wide. I think everyone's going a bit wide, just playing it a little bit safe. Who's going to be the first out of their turn, I wonder. Looks like first out of the turn is Waikea. Hilo's out of their turn. Kamehameha is coming. Kea'au has come out of their turn. I believe Kamehameha is also coming out of their turn, and so is Kohala. And it is going to be a close race. I wonder if Hilo's going to do the same thing they've done before. I think I've seen their JV mixed crews last time do the explosive tactic that they've done near the end, which is a little scary if they're neck and neck with Waikea. Because Waikea has not been known for that to push at the end. They're not. They don't tend to train in that as Hilo does. Hilo is trained around conserving for the energy in the end, and Hilo is taking the lead. Hilo has quite a bit of a farther lead and just using that energy that they've saved from the first half of this race and allowing them to push through and gain that headway on the second half. Now it looks like it's more of a race between Kea'au's Cougars and Hilo's Vikings out on the water. At the moment, it looks like Kea'au has their lead, maybe just by half a boat length, but not by a lot. And you can hear the Hilo crew cheering on, the Hilo team cheering on their crew. And there they go. That is what Hilo's always known for, at least what they train for, is getting that energy out. But are they able to overtake fully Kea'au? And I think they are. Look, that is Hilo edging out ahead of Kea'au. Just by a little bit, and I think they're going to take it. And yep, there they go. Hilo takes it, crossing the finish line alongside Kea'au, right behind them. Great job to our Hilo varsity mix, followed by Waikea. Great job to everyone. And that concludes. I think that is our first heat. That was our first heat of the varsity mix, so we'll be coming back with a second heat. Second heat involves Kalakehe, Konowaina, HPA, Kamehameha, and Ehunui. So great job to all the paddlers out there on the heat one, and great job to Hilo for pulling through it there at the end, followed by KL. But yeah, we'll be back with you guys in just a bit. Okay, yellow flag is up. Paddlers are getting ready. They're lining up. I think some of our paddlers are up. Yellow flag's waved. And they're off. That was a long time to have paddles up. Looks like, is that Canoe? I really should have my list out. Because some of these canoes look similar. That was Canoe. That's why I didn't recognize that canoe. In lane 2. Looks like KVIKS is, this is a very blue canoe race. But looks like KVIKS, I can't say, I would say HP and KVIKS are going to be the ones to watch. But Canoe, I think they were surprising last time. They're not racing a lot today. This is a JV mix. So let's see how they do. So as they make their way down to the turn, this again, have I said? I think I've said this, but this is the awkward part of the race. This is where you're just trying to either conserve and not lose your lead. You're still trying to make sure you're making headway in this race, but you don't want to lose any power because you're going to need a lot of it going into those turns. So as they make their way down through this awkward section of the race and making their way into their turns, this is where you're going to see those crews kind of slow down and kind of save their energy, because if you burn out before the turn, it's going to be very hard to get out, and it's going to be very hard to get all the way down, because just because you get out of that turn, that means you're halfway through the race. That doesn't mean you're done, even though if it may feel like the hardest part. It's the halfway point. So I did a race down, I think it was Miloli'i, and it was a 9-mile Ironman, and it was a 4.5 mile down and a 4.5 mile back, and there was one turn, and we took a really big turn, and to know that was a half mile, it's a little defeating, but it also means you can't kill yourself in those turns, because you have to keep going. And those long distance ones, they're about endurance, so it's more about pacing yourself out and getting comfortable space. These regattas, they're about speed, so it's everything of a long distance truncated down, and you're not trying to keep yourself going for a long distance. You're playing this short game of cause and effect, of give and take. How much energy I'm going to put in at this point, so I can get the maximum amount of distance out of what my team can do. I think our camera is following Kamehameha, and they look to be taking a very comfortable lead at the moment. But Kealakahe is not far behind. It's going to be a race between... Oh, Kealakahe has fallen much farther behind than originally thought they were. And it is a Konowaina versus Kamehameha, and I think Konowaina is going to edge out Kamehameha, and they are already in the lead. You can see on the cameras is much clearer than I can see in person, but Konowaina has gone ahead and overtaken, and is in the lead right now, and they're going to take first place for their heats, followed by KS. There you go. Great job, Konowaina. And great job, Kamehameha. Konowaina's not racing in a lot of races, but the ones they do, they make sure they count. Great job, and that's the end of our varsity mix. And here comes Kealakahe, followed by Ehunui, all the way on the outer edge. A really good performance from Konowaina. You can see just a consistency is the name of the game for them. And at the end, just making sure that they had enough energy to carry through, and because that's where everybody should be putting in double the effort. If you're going, let's say 70% throughout that race, because these regattas, these half miles, you're not supposed to be going 100% the entire time. You should not be. You should be regulating that, and that's what your steersman and your seat one is doing, is making sure the team is regulating themselves. So seeing Konowaina there, they're not racing in a lot of races, so my imagination is that when they are paddling, they're going, you can see them 70%, 70%, 80%, 80%, and slowly building up as they're getting down. You want it to keep it going up and go up and up. So at the end, that last 1/8 or 16th of that half of that quarter mile, you are just 100% going. And that was good for them. That was a really good race, and I can't wait to see how the finals shake out for them. That brings us to the end of our varsity mix segment. There are only 2 races left. A bunch of the coaches are going to come up, and they're going to pull for their lanes based off of what we just saw for those 4 sets of heats from JV Mix and Varsity Mix. So I will be right back with all of you for JV Mix finale and Varsity Mix finale. And that will bring us to the end of today's stream afterwards. So be excited. This is going to be the last few races before BIIFs.
What part are you going to use?
And now we follow the dog on the beach. So this is our JV mix. We're back. They're lined up, ready to go. Our officiant has flags in hand, so paddlers are getting ready. In our first, this is our final race, so all our JV mix is out on the shoreline. First place was Canoe with a time of 1 minute 55 seconds, so they are in lane 1. Lane 2 is, actually they're all in their orders, so lane 2 is Pahoa. Lane 3 is Kalake. Lane 4 is Hilo. Lane 5 is Kamehameha. Lane 6, St. Joseph, and Lane 7 is HSP, and that is the order of also all their times. So very nice of them for me, and to make it very easy to tell who took first. So in that first place is a team with the lead, Canoe, with 1 minute 55 seconds. So let's see how they shake up. Flags are in hand, and I think our officiant is just making sure that all of our crews are behind the start line and ready for the OK. That I think all the crews are out on the water. Yellow flag is up. Getting crew's attention. Paddles are up. And hooky. And they're off. And this is our second to last race of the day, everyone. This is our JV mix. The people who were leading the pack was Canoe with a time of 1 minute 55 seconds for this quarter mile straight. So let's see if this JV mix can pull off a similar situation. I'm hearing over the efficient radio. Looks to be some complications with Hilo. I think it's one team started over the line, and I think Hilo might have started with messing with a flag, but I can't say for sure. But we will see how that shakes out. Sorry, I was listening over the radio to try and see what's going on with that complication. But I'll be back when I do get clear information to let you guys know. But what our races is looking like right now, it looks like Hilo is leading the pack at the moment. Despite whatever might have happened at the start of this race, they are currently leading ahead. But Kalake is catching up. I think Kalake is edging out a win for themselves as they overtake Hilo. And there goes Kalake taking it. Good job to Kalake, followed by Hilo, Ehanui, Puna. Sorry, not Puna, Bahala. And Kamehameha, and the remaining canoes out on the edge. Let me go see what happened. Maybe I can report back on what happened exactly at the start of that race for that quarter mile straight. To my knowledge, and what I'm hearing is that there was no DQ for Hilo. Hilo was sitting. Their bow holder seemed to have been sitting on a flag, or at least very close to it. But for whatever circumstances might have been, no DQ for Hilo. So great job for them because they took second place for this heat, which is still good. Them and Kalake were neck and neck, but this is JV mix. We'll be heading over into our Varsity mix finals, ending the day with a good half mile race. and we'll get to see the end of today. It'll be the last race before BIIFs, like all of today has been, and the last day for a lot of these racers to really get all those nerves and shake them out and perform their best before their qualifying matches for BIIFs. I'll be back with you when our half-mile races are up on the line for that race. And here we go. Here comes the boats as they line up for this final half mile. Isn't that a beautiful sight? I think that's 8 to 7 canoes out on the water. Let's see who our lineup is looking like for this final varsity mix. In lane 1 is KVIKS. Lane 2 is Hilo. Hilo is currently in the lead. They had a time of 4 minutes and 14 seconds for their final. Yellow flag is raised, wave, and paddles are up, and off they go. Final race of the day. Here goes the Varsity Mixed Crews taking off. There's KVIKS flying across the water. But so is Hilo. But let's go through the races and let me tell you guys who is in this set of races. So Hilo took first place with a time of 4 minutes and 14 seconds, and so they're in lane 2. Lane 1 is occupied by the third place KVIKS. So lane 1 is KVIKS, lane 2 is Hilo, lane 3 is Canoe. Inside of our lane 4 is our fourth place Kamehameha Schools. Fifth place taken by YK is in lane 5. Our sixth place is HPA, and our seventh place is Kalakahe. And then eighth place Kohala 8 is out on the water. It says on here, Kaumeke and Ehunui were on here. They are placed 9th and 10th, but they are not in this finals. I don't believe they I don't believe they're qualified. I don't believe there's enough lanes for them out here. So there was a qualifying for these finals. So on the stream, you can see Kamehameha making good headway with their strokes. Nice, deep, they're going in, but I don't think that compares to KVIKS and Hilo. Both very scary crews and quite surprising by how fast they're able to move. Looks like KVIKS is edging out for the race ahead of us. And they are reaching their turns very quick. And KVIKS goes into their turn ahead of everybody else. This is the same thing we've seen before. KVIKS going into their turn above others and really getting that headway. But there goes Hilo. Hilo's coming out of their turn, and I think they're coming out almost at the same time. KVIKS comes out of the turn just a little bit ahead, and it's going to be between KVIKS and Hilo coming down. But Konowaina, also really surprising. They won their heat, so, you know, and I think they were second place. So watch these three teams, Konowaina, Hilo, and KVIKS. They are the three teams to watch in this, and it's a hard toss-up. I didn't see Hilo go against Konowaina, so we're going to see how that shakes out, because Konowaina was really surprising. So here, let's take a look. Out on the street, you can see there is Konowaina and Hilo racing. I can't say if it's neck or neck at the moment, but they're looking good. They're looking close. KVIKS, their stroke and their pace seems to be a bit slower than Hilo, which is a little worrying if you had any bets on KVIKS winning. But again, it's hard to tell from this perspective. It can look like Hilo's far and ahead, and I would say that's not the case. I think it's still kind of a close race against these three canoes. I don't think KVIKS has given up their lead, and it's going to be between Konowaina and Hilo. And Konowaina taking really long on that changeover right there. They have to keep it up. They can't lose time on those changeovers. And there goes Hilo, just throwing their weight behind them. They can't let themselves slow down. You have to keep going. Like I said, look, KVIKS is not out. KVIKS is racing and catching up. This is a race between KVIKS and Hilo High School. There's enough weight. This is neck and neck. KVIKS is just pulled ahead. Oh, I can say for sure. That was a good one from KVIKS and Hilo. I'm going to go check with the judges to see if I can see who might have won that one. Here comes Kamehameha,
and at the N is HPA. I'm going to go check with our judges to see if I can tell you who won that heat of the races, but I'm going to go look again. So just got word from the judges stand. That was a win for KL for that heat. Great job to them. The words from the judges are KL took it on that last stroke. One more stroke more, and they were just able to edge out. And I would probably say that's down to fractions of a second that they beat them. And it's just getting that nose across first. So they just took him out and was able to pull ahead. Cal may have slowed down like I had said before, but no. They've fully committed and just got themselves across the finish line. So great job to that Cal mixed team. And again, and that does not diminish Hilo's efforts. They lost by, again, fraction of a second, and that's what it comes down to. Still two really great teams out on the water that we saw, and all these teams are great. So that brings us to the end of our stream today. That's the last race for us here. So thank you everyone for watching, and that is my time here over. Thank you so much.
The broadcast is brought to you by students of Hilo High School.